Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Phillips is in my house.
You're listening to the Mark Hatfield podcast.
You want to go fight some crime?
I got your number, I know your name, and I know you play the game.
Here I am.
Unbelievable. Thanks for doing this, man.
No problem.
This is great.
It was easy organizing this, wasn't it?
Yeah, come on over. All I have to do is mop the floor. My wife says you can have your friends over to play.
There you go.
That's great. And normally we have coffee and water, but with the big rig here, we just have big rig beer to drink.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we'll open these, and when we're done, the conversation will be over.
Yeah.
Sound
right on.
good?
Sound great.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite kind?
Of those ones,
Gold.
probably the gold. But
Yeah, well, here we go.
you know what? That's what's great about the craft beer is there's a little bit for every occasion. There is no one favorite. It's goes with the seasons and the mood and how you're feeling, and it's great.
I'm feeling like it's just after breakfast time, and I should have a beer with Chris Phillips.
This is a great breakfast beer.
Yeah, this is the best of all.
Cheers.
Yeah, here we go, man. Cheers.
Right on.
And these silver mugs, for some reason, every occasion in my family, my mother buys us all mugs. And like you can look, there's like a cupboard full of them. This one here says, "Happy 10th birthday, Keegan." So that's my son, one of my sons. And yours always says something.
Nothing like getting a Stein for your 10th birthday. That's great.
Can you imagine later on in life they're at a party drinking out of their birthday present from their 10 from grandma?
I got the fitting Canada 150 glass.
Oh yeah, and on this side it says, "Jaden, happy 16th birthday."
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
there you
that's
go.
150. That's from this year. Wow, it's delicious.
That hits the spot.
Yeah, it's a wheat beer. Obviously, I can see that by the wheat pictures.
No, this is just an ale. It's just the wheat pitcher for the grains that we make it with. We make a Hefeweizen that is a true wheat beer, but this is a lagered ale.
So you know a lot about beer now.
I wish I knew more.
Yeah.
But,
Did you always know a lot about beer? Or?
I've known more about the taste than what went into making it.
Yeah.
Coming up in the hockey culture, that was went kind of hand in hand growing up a little bit. But since getting into this business, I've learned a lot, and I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. There's just so much to learn.
It is an art, right? It's a total art.
100%. Try and be around the brewery a little bit and just watching, see everything that they have that goes into it. Excuse me, detailed charts, checking every beer every day.
Wow, like a science, more of a science and an art, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Did you know? So you're from Alberta, right?
Yes, Fort McMurray, Alberta.
Oh, Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
That's where the fires were last.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I'm glad I wasn't there.
Yeah.
At the time, seeing the videos of it, as it was going on, and afterwards were surreal.
Mm-hmm.
My sister still lives there and was talking to them on the phone as they were, trying to drive out of town, and they were even a part of it, and it was hard for them to describe.
Yeah. So could you see in the images like places you recognize going up in flames?
In the aftermath, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the videos at the time were really the forests on the side of the highways and just the people trying to get out of town, and really just incredible that everyone left in kind of an orderly manner.
Yeah.
Depending on where you lived, you're on one highway out of town or in each direction, and that was your only option. Really no injuries involved with that. There was a crash later on that I don't think was directly related to that, although they were being evacuated. But just incredible to see that happen.
Yeah, unbelievable. A lot of it's been rebuilt, I think. Do you know anything about what's going on there now? Or?
Excuse me. They're getting there, but it's slow.
Yeah.
The areas that got hit hard, you think, well, the foundation survived, it's concrete, you just build on top of it.
Yeah.
But when you have a mass fire like that, everything is contaminated, so they got to go in and basically rip everything out of there. So it's taken some time, but they're slowly getting there.
And it's oil town, right? Like people come from the oil fields from there.
Yes.
Is that what your dad did? Your parents?
He worked in the oil sands, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was a nurse. That's how they both ended up there in the
Yeah.
early 70s. And then, myself and my sister are both Tarzan babies.
Tarzan babies. There's a movie like that.
Yeah.
What year were you born? In the 70s?
78, yeah.
78. So when you start playing hockey?
I think I had skates on when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Dad made a outdoor rink in the back, and there's lots of outdoor rinks in town across the street. Started organized hockey when I was 5, and
How was it
from
at
there.
the beginning? I'm sure you've heard your parents talk about the stories. Like, you're a big guy. Were you a good skater at the start, or? I know said you were 3, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was doing sow cows. And
No, and you know what? I played almost 20 years in NHL, but I still don't know if anyone would say I was a good skater. So I don't know if that ever happened, and nor will it ever. But skated good enough to to make it.
So, but you were good at the start. Like, for football, for me, like, I was just a tall, skinny kid playing football for years that nobody ever looked at, and it was years of pointing myself in a certain direction that got me to where I wanted to get to. Is it something like people are like, wow, because my kids play hockey. Well, my oldest son plays hockey, and you see the kids at 5 who can already, skate backwards and do tight turns and all these things to make them a little bit better. Is that, when did you start seeing things in your game that made it seem like you might play hockey for a while?
Honestly, I never really thought that I would have a chance at making a career out of it till I was about 15.
Oh, yeah.
I was, I guess, a good player, but in my eyes, in every team I played with, I always felt like there was guys that were as good or better than I was, and then a good growth spurt when I was 15, and helped out and ended up making the local junior A team when I was 15, and that's when things really took off for me.
That's amazing. It's amazing because I see hockey parents, and normally if it's your first child, you're standing by the boards and you see this kid out there and you want them to be the best on the ice, and to hear you say, I didn't think I was the best on any team I was, right? Like, that's an amazing thing to. It goes to show that as long as you're out there showing up every day, having a good time with it, then great things will happen if you just keep going, right?
100%. You just never know.
Yeah.
There's always those kids that everybody's like, oh, do you see, that kid? Oh, wow, that kid's a star. And, when they're 10, 11, 12 years old. And, certainly not to take anything away from those players. But I'm always quick to say, those, if there's a roster sheet with everybody on there, hang on to it, and you think it's going to be that kid that's going to make it, but just make sure you have everyone's name, because I won't be shocked to see it's the other kids that, for whatever reason, again, there's just so many factors that go into it. I don't think you can truly just manufacture a hockey player. There's and some just totally out of your control, and size is often one of them. And some kids sprout early, and then they're oh wow, look how big that kid, and then all of a sudden other guys are going past them, and you just never know. So you're right in saying that you just never know. If you just stick with it, keep having fun, keep being the best that you can be, and enjoy doing it, that you just never know.
Yeah. When you were a kid, did you play just hockey or what's other sports?
Baseball as well.
So in the summertime, skates but put away, and
for the most part, I played in a few summer tournaments, but baseball was a big focus for me as well. And in the middle of the baseball season, that was my dream to play in the major leagues.
Oh, yeah?
I enjoyed it as much as I did hockey.
Yeah. And how far did you get in baseball?
I played till I was about 15. and sort of got to that age where hockey kind of took over and had to choose and take one a little more seriously. And I think just the environment of being up in northern Alberta, that a little bit tougher to do more baseball than just the summer. That maybe hindered that decision. But I had a great career and wouldn't change a thing. But looking back, I wish I would have tried to stick it out and play ball for a few more years, just to see what maybe could have happened.
Yeah, because 20 years in the NHL is not enough.
Yeah.
It's funny because people would say, "Oh, you got a longer career in baseball, right?" But
Yeah.
I mean, was it 19 years and 19 and a half? Or
Yeah.
we'll go with 20. 20 that's a long
Sounds
time.
good.
Yeah, it's easy to say. That's like saying I played a year for the Miami Dolphins. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, and sister, you said?
Yes, older sister.
Older sister, and she a hockey player?
No.
No, what'd she do?
She's a stay-at-home mom. Her husband works in the oil sands, and
She still lives in.
She's
That's
still,
right.
Yeah, still up in Fort Mac. She's got 3 kids who are very busy in their own sports, and that's almost a full-time job.
3 kids,
driving them to all their stuff.
You and I
we know,
both know that.
Yeah, we know what it's all about.
I woke up this morning, Monday morning, exhausted, and I went, "Why am I so tired?" And I'm like, this weekend it was nonstop between Christmas parties for the kids, for the adults, Taekwondo belt testing, concerts, hockey. Like, it just keeps going and going.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, we had the same schedule, but Aaron was on duty in town with 2 of them. I was at a hockey tournament down in Toronto. So
you're probably more busy now than when you played hockey in the NHL.
100%.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. Helping coach 2 older ones hockey teams, as well with Big Rig and working for the Senators. It's we have lots on the go.
So your kids are how old?
14, 13, and 10.
14, 13, 10. 14 and 13 play hockey?
All 3 of them are playing hockey now. Yeah,
so
oldest boy, 2 girls, all in hockey.
All in hockey.
And then we have the youngest one figure skates, the middle one's volleyball, and then my son's playing baseball. So it's
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the Big Rig. How much are you at the brewery? There's 2 spots, right?
we have 2 restaurants and a brewery.
Where's the brewery?
And the brewery's in Canada. And then we have Irish Street Restaurant, and
this is delicious.
oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish that right now. So the brewery's not. Is it also a place you can go and have food? And
It's got a tasting room, but it's not
Yeah.
a full restaurant. You can get sandwiches, pizza, pretzels, stuff like that to help wash down the food.
Yeah, the first time I met you, I was just thinking about that story. Is like 2 years ago at the Just For Me. No, not. Proud to be me.
Proud to be me.
Yeah, Proud to be Bully Free Gala. And, you get there and there's a reception. I was the guest speaker, the keynote speaker, and there's people everywhere. There's some Sens players and some politicians. And I think I was doing shots at the bar with Jody Minnick. And then it starts and I go out and and it was an emotional time. It was right when Stuntman Stu had announced he had cancer and he was supposed to host. So there's a lot of emotions in the air. And so I get up there and I'm getting great reaction from the crowd.
Well, you did a great job, by the way. I remember that one.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And so I'm up there, and I knew there's some people in the crowd, like Chad Shella, who I think works for the Sens that you knew, and just some other people. And I was making jokes with their names involved, and I hear this big laugh, and I had the lights in my face. I couldn't see who it was. I just this giant image over here laughing at everything I was saying. And then it went really well, and I get off stage and I look over and it's Chris Phillips, and then you came over and said hi to me and stuff too. So that was a big moment. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, it was great, and anytime you can poke fun at Chad Shella, and he didn't have a chance to reply.
That's right.
Is even better.
Yeah, that's funny. I think Chris Neal was there too, and he came over too. So that was a really cool moment for me, for sure, to have other sort of athletes to react to my story, because it's sort of what's driven me my whole life, and I'm sure you know it, and maybe people who are listening don't. I'll just give a quick little elevator version. In '85, my brother and I were watching the Super Bowl, Dan Marino, the Miami Dolphins, the whole bit. And, I was 15, my brother was 19. And he says to me, if Dan Marino can make it to the NFL at such a young early age, Mark, surely someday you could play in the NFL. So that's, as 2 brothers, that's what we started to do in Blackburn Hamlet, go down to the local sports field. We just kept trying and kept going that whole season. And the next season, last game of the year, We lose the game. I go into the change room, and the date was October 30th, 1985. And after the game, unfortunately, my uncle was there, and he said, "Mark, I'm sorry, but your brother Bill died today." And obviously the worst possible thing that could have happened to me. And had this horrible moment. And instead of giving up on that dream that we'd set together, I made it sort of the focus of my life, and I made a promise to him that, you know, I would never stop trying to do that until I did it, until there was nowhere left to keep trying. And like you said, I was never the best on the team. I never won any All-Star awards, but I just kept going in that direction, and I was focused on that, and I'd made that promise. And it was filled with, you know, injuries, failures, and no universities wanted to give me a scholarship, so I paid my way to the smallest football playing school in Canada, Bishop's University. Same thing there, no awards. You know, I see other guys in the team getting all Canadian and all this attention, and me nothing, but I just kept going. And next year, high school, next year, university, I finally get a tryout with the Detroit Lions by never giving up, get cut there, come home back to Ottawa, and on October 30th, 1995, I get a phone call to go down to Miami, and actually on that day, I signed a contract with the Miami Dolphins, and Dan Marino was the one who walked in the room and told me the news. So, you know, so 30 incredible. Years to the day. Yeah. And it's just a story of resiliency. And I know, I mean, you've had a huge, successful NHL career, but I know it's come from sort of just that same sort of thing, right? Never giving up and just sort of showing up at the rink every day.
Well, that's it. You know, having a goal and you know, basically, you know, living your life with, you know, that on your shoulder. Decisions that you make, you know, I at a young age was, you know, committed to do that, and you know, you make a lot of sacrifices. Yeah. You know, it would have been, you know, easy to, oh, I want to, you know, stay home and go to the parties, hang out with my school friends, mm-hmm. and you know, you give up a lot of that to, you know, try and achieve your goal, your dream, and to go along with that, you know, it's hard to measure the heart, you know, the what you want to, how hard you want to work to put into that. You know, we talk about young kids and the skills and all that, and that's a huge part of it that mm-hmm. you can't measure, you can't see. It's got to be within you, and that was my goal, and committed to do whatever I had to do to try and make that happen. And mm-hmm. You know, one of the lucky ones, because I think you do need some luck involved with that path, and things fell into place, and I'm sure glad that I did everything that I had to achieve it. It was, you know, now retired. You know, everything that I have to, you know, being able to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm. So when you see your kids, like, as you obviously, excuse me, had struggled. You know, you had to, you didn't come from a father who played in the NHL. Right, and so there's a certain amount of struggle, and I think of myself, you know, wanting to play football. My father's from like Rhodesia, didn't know anything about football. You know, was a cricket player, a rugby player, and that whole thing. And then now, like your kids, you look at them. Do they have enough struggle in their life to achieve things that they want to achieve? And I don't know if it's hockey. It could be anything, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's hockey. I mean, it might be something else.
You know, to be honest, I'm not sure. You know, I certainly, you know, my mom and dad, I just lost my dad in 2012. You know, have a sister that I still have, but, you know, we went through a lot of adversity as a family. When I was 10, my mom was paralyzed from a virus. And 2 years later, my dad became legally blind from diabetes. So at, you know, like you said, I was 10, my sister was 14, and it was all hands on deck for us. We were kind of helping, you know, run the house. Wow. Between, you know, cooking meals and doing laundry and just keeping things together at home. Yeah. So, you know, at those young ages for me and my sister forced us to and grow up, a little bit quicker than everyone else, and mature. And I think that adversity, just helps grow something in you, that inside of you, that sure. That determination to go after something. I think that was a big part of it for me. So when you ask that, I'm not sure that my kids haven't gone through that kind of stuff, but my dad's message was work hard. That's, I talked to people that he worked with, people that knew him, and when I talked to them, without him being around, that's what they, oh my God, the guy, the hardest worker, didn't matter what the job was, he was a laborer, and he worked his ass off. Wow. And so something that I tried to emulate, and really that's the message that I try and pass on to the kids. That it's no one's going to do it for you. If you want it, you gotta work at it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a huge struggle for sure in a young person's life, is everything to put on their shoulders. And what happened to your mom? She was paralyzed?
Yeah, just caught a virus, and basically happened overnight. So she was down in Edmonton, 4 hours away in the hospital and rehabilitation center for about 6 months before she came back home. And so for a long time, we'd go see her on the weekends and stuff. It was a pretty crazy time.
Wow. And then your dad lost his vision. That is a big deal for a child. I mean, that's a huge thing to overcome, right? And I'm sure you had that, look in the mirror and said, all right, if things are going to change or get better, or just be normal around here, it's up to us, right? You and your sister.
Yeah, we had to take it on, and I don't know, maybe it was trying to bring some excitement and happiness into the that's why I pushed myself to try and make the NHL. I mean, when you're 10 years old, who knows what what I need a psychologist to tell me what I was thinking. It's almost seems like a blur. But I think that's, as I said, all those factors certainly played into how you look at things and try and achieve things.
When did you figure out you're going to be a defenseman?
I pretty well played defense right from a young age. Just naturally, stayed back and tried to defend and not allow goals against.
That's the actual job description.
And then once you're doing that, then you try out for the team and you say, I'm a defenseman, okay. When you try out for defense and you stay there, and I think there's, if you really look at it, it's probably get morphed into that too early. Instead of trying everything and playing everything more and learning it all. But the ironic thing is, once I made the NHL, I actually played forward on and off for a few years. We had a lot of defensemen. Forwards got a few guys got hurt, and kind of moved me into this power forward position, and never really played before until I got the NHL.
That is unbelievable.
Kind of backwards.
I always find it funny that they list like a defenseman's goals and assists, like who really cares? You know what I mean? Like, does that have anything to do? Like, if I looked at you on Wikipedia, I'm like, this year he really, outdid himself with 8 goals. And I'm like, does that matter at all? He scored 2 more than the previous year or something, right?
Yeah, no, they don't put poke checks and block shot. Well, I guess they use block shots a little more, but
block shots for sure. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. So at you said around 15, you made when did it become your life? Like you're leaving home?
So I didn't leave home till I was 17. I played 2 years of junior at home. Staying home and playing tier 2 still left the door open to go to university, which was a real thought for me. I was drafted into the WHL, but held back a year.
On your own decision?
Yeah, kind of with the family and trying to figure out what was right, and made things a little bit easier being at home. My sister was at college at that time, so being able to help out at home was a part of it. Leaving the door open to go to NCAA was a big part of it. And development-wise, I was still only 16. I was, one of the better players on the team at that time. I was, a ton of ice time and really developed a lot as a player just because I had a lot of opportunity. And I think that helped out my path, even just instead of making the next jump. And who knows how much you're going to play. If, I always even tell young kids, if you're going to be on the ice all the time at one level lower than being the next highest level and sit on the bench and not be put in opportunities, you're not really going to develop as much.
That's a great
just to be on the better team.
Yeah.
And then that was how that worked out for me. And so that at 15, playing junior hockey, my hometown, it's like playing in the NHL here. Everyone's talking about the Oil Barons.
Okay.
And, you have your team jacket on and you're like a star at that age. And minor hockey kids they want to play for the Oil Barons when they grow up. And it was a pretty cool experience to be a part of that at a young age. But, being on the ice with, 20-year-olds and, good hockey and fighting and, that really elevated my career in a hurry.
That must have been a huge trend. Did you say you were 15 when you went there?
Yeah.
And played against 20-year-old men?
Yeah.
That must have been a huge jump, right?
Yeah, it was. And there was a couple, we actually had probably 8 or 9 20-year-olds on our team at that point. And,
So
they'd finished school and, I laugh, looking back, but when at that time, I thought these guys are old.
Yeah. They
shaving and all these little things. Holy smokes!
That guy has a car.
They're driving. My mom's driving me to the rink, and so it did seem like
go do your thing, sweetie.
They were a lot older until I got to 20, and then didn't feel as old as how I thought those guys were. But it was a big jump.
It's a funny thing, like you said, looking back and thinking a 20-year-old's old, right?
Yeah, kidding.
You get bus boys at Big Rig that are 20, I'm sure. What's this one here? This looks Tartan Pants.
Tartan Pants.
Strong
that's the,
Scotch Ale.
That's the Scotch Ale was rebranded this year to. It was in the LCBO as a fall seasonal, and it's done really well for us.
Oh wow, it's a coffee looking almost.
That's dark.
I love coffee looking things. How's yours? Are you done your first one yet?
Almost. I'm talking too much. That's usually not the case.
That's a podcast. Yeah, I know. I was wondering. I thought you're really good at talking about beer too, by the way. I can tell you do that quite a bit. Scotch Ale. I'm looking forward to that. So then you go to junior hockey. So from the Oil Barons, where did you go from there?
So I was drafted by Prince Albert and in the WHL. I went there when I was 17 and moved away, lived with a family, billet family that took me in, and right away had a great experience, great group of guys, good family. I still had grade 12 schooling to do. Met some people at school, had some friends, and really was a good experience for me. I know a lot of guys, and they leave home, and it is a huge adjustment, but struggle with that adjustment a little bit. But personally for me, it went fairly smooth.
It's funny because people think, oh, that guy's a good player, he's got all the natural things, but so much of it is based on the environments you end up in, like you say, lucky, like a good coach, a good environment where everyone's sort of supportive and moving you in that direction, right? I was very lucky to have amazing high school, university coach, and like the parents that just keep pushing me in that direction. And I only realize now, looking back and seeing sort of other environments that people may have been in, that just were negative, were sort of toxic, didn't push the people in the right direction. And you see a lot of people who had the potential or could have done it, and they just don't have those same opportunities. It sounds like you've made a great choice in playing for the Oil Barons, which sounds fantastic, right? The hometown kid playing for the big squad, and then Prince Albert. That's in BC, right?
Saskatchewan.
Oh, Saskatchewan.
Northern Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are like a prairie boy
I
forever.
Went from, one northern town to another.
That's it's more north, right? Is it?
It's a little
Norther?
bit south, but a couple hours north of Saskatoon. So kind of, both. Mm-hmm. Not a whole lot going on around.
Yeah. Were there like coaching mentors that you had at an early age that sort of helped you out with things?
I had great minor hockey experience with coaches. A few coaches that stayed with the team for a few years. Great relationships with them. Into junior hockey. The same coaches while I was in Fort McMurray that really supported me, helped me out, wanted me to go to the next level. We talk about all these different circumstances, just like you were saying. You could go to this situation where, if you're fighting with the coach and not seeing eye to eye, and all of a sudden you're, not playing that often, or, it could easily go bad. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Prince Albert, they had just hired Chris Stewart, who was he was coaching in Olds when I was playing in Fort McMurray, so we were like rivals.
Okay.
And when I got there, so it was like this kind of funny bond, because we'd kind of battled against each other's teams.
Okay, yeah.
And then got there and had this connection that we could, talk about that, and had a, kind of a bit of a relationship immediately. And again, just worked. It was a good fit for me.
Yeah, it's nice when you have sort of people know, like they respect what's gone on in the past, right? When you go from, that's what sports is great about, right? You can be enemies, and then 2 weeks later you're on the same team, and you're going together towards the common goal.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I love sports for that. Mm-hmm. That there's been certainly guys traded. Both to and away, I mean, I played with guys, and they get traded, and then you're battling them, the next week, and trying to shut them down, and
like extra hard, right? Like
100%.
Yeah.
And then the game ends, and you see them in the hallway, and give them a handshake and a hug, and talk, and it's awesome. And sports is is so good for that. Or banging heads for 60 minutes, and trying to win, and it's a hard game, and you could run him to the bar after, and have a great talk about different guys that you've played. It's so easy to make connections with, especially after a long career of everybody's played with somebody, even if you don't know a guy, that there's an easy connection with everyone.
Yeah.
Now sports is terrific for that.
What are some of the more notable ones you can remember playing against after they've left? Like Mike Fisher?
Danny Heatley was one. Once I, played with him, got to know him. I mean, I'm a shutdown defenseman playing against, a goal scorer.
Yeah.
So I used to have these bets with my wife to try and, because I knew who I'd be playing against, and I'm going to try and, shut this guy down. And I
won't ask you what the winner gets in that bet.
No, thanks. And then so me and Heater used to talk about that, and he knew about it. And then we were facing off against each other, and we'd be laughing on the ice, because he knew that I'd be like, the bets, I got to shut you down tonight. So, we'd be laughing on the ice, but
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's great.
The game within the game.
Uh-huh. You always wonder when the guys are looking at each other, 'cause, it usually ends in a laugh or a fist fight, right? And you're wondering, like, you could be saying anything, right? Or nothing.
Yeah.
It's funny to know that you're actually, like, there's something behind
there's
the laughter.
There's some great conversations out there. I've, even heard a few, clips they're catching now where, guys are, in a fight and then, go to the penalty box and, they're from the same hometown or like, hey, what are you doing this summer? And they're talking, and people that don't understand the sport are like, hey, these guys are crazy.
That is funny. Yeah, people don't understand the sport, right? They think you're like enemies. They want to like scalp each other and cut the heads off. But it's just,
hey, good job, man. Good job. You really got me with that left there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we're at the Prince Albert. What's the team name there?
Raiders.
Yeah. How long you were there for?
I was there for a year and a half. After my first year, I was drafted by Ottawa into the NHL.
First overall, right?
First overall.
That's amazing.
Yeah, fooled them all.
How does that feel? That's like every year, what is it? 20 guys win the Stanley Cup. Every year, one guy gets picked first overall.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it still hasn't sunken in. I don't think. I don't know what age I'll get to when I. Just because it doesn't even seem like that's possible to myself. Like as I said. Growing up, there was better hockey players. Certainly, as I got into playing junior hockey and World Juniors, there were some really good players. Yeah. So to see myself, being picked higher to them just didn't almost make sense.
Yeah,
but I rolled with it, and it was awesome.
Yeah, $100 bills. Yeah. Wow, that's great. So you were at the draft?
Went to the draft in St. Louis.
Okay.
My whole family was down there, as well as a group of friends that had come down, the local radio station, and
like a station from Ottawa. You mean,
from Fort McMurray.
Oh, okay.
It was a big deal back home to. There was lots of talk already. Going high in the draft.
Yeah.
After doing some interviews there at the draft. I was pretty certain that San Jose was going to take me second if Ottawa took someone else. And Ottawa ended up taking me. So, I knew that I was going one or two based on everything that I was hearing and talking to San Jose. So it actually made the whole experience fun, really.
Yeah.
I didn't have to sit there and be worried about, am I getting drafted?
Yeah.
It was, let's go and enjoy this experience and try and soak it all in. And I was fortunate that Ottawa picked me, and who would have thought that, I'd still be here.
Yeah, 20-something years later.
Yeah.
What was the year? That was
96.
96.
Yeah.
I was drafted in 95 in the CFL, first round. But Ottawa picked a dead guy that year. I'm pretty sure they picked a guy who was dead. I'm pretty sure. Over me. Grew up here. I'm like, they're like fourth overall. At least they'll go top four. Yeah. Ottawa picks, some guy, and they're like, that guy's dead. He's been dead for 2 years. Great. And then the last pick of the first round, I'm sitting there. There's only 4 guys invited to the draft in the CFL in Saskatoon. In Regina. In Saskatoon. It was in Saskatoon. And, first 4 go, all right, thanks, guys, and you're still sitting there. And then they pick, a dead guy, and some guy's not here. And then, like, the last pick of the first round, I got down on my knees. I was like, thank you. It was a good feeling, too. But not first overall in the NHL. That's great. So after you get you're still laughing at the dead guy. Yeah, he had a great career. It was similar to mine. And so you get drafted. That's from Prince Albert. You got drafted. You were a player there. You got drafted by Did you go immediately to?
So I get drafted in the summertime.
Yeah.
To Ottawa. Went to training camp, and it was. It's funny because it really doesn't get brought up a whole lot. It was over 20 years ago, but I'd played I think 6 exhibition games, and we had one more. It was having a good camp, not getting scored against, fitting right in, and you get a taste of the NHL. You're getting $120 per diem a day. And you're like, this like
It's cash.
This league is unbelievable. and thought that I could stick around, wanted to stick around. They said, well, we haven't finished evaluating you. And then there was one more exhibition game, and I was a healthy scratch. I wasn't playing. So, my agents everyone was kind of pissed off, and we left camp really kind of trying to force their hand to try and get signed. And, it was a big mess for a couple weeks. And, I've basically forgotten about it. It was not a fun time, wanting to stick around, but, ended up, not getting signed and then going back to junior and playing another year in the Western Hockey League, which, turned out to be a great year, and came back to Ottawa and made the team, and, had a good long career. But that was, a sort of big hiccup there for when I look back on it.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but that was
good.
I don't think many people remember that. Maybe Liam McGuire goes, I knew
Oh
that.
yeah, no kidding. He knows more about me than I do.
That's funny. Look, he was on the podcast right there. Sign the table. Don't forget to sign the table.
Oh yeah, okay. Somebody stole my dream big though.
Yeah, well, you can do that. You can write over top of that. That's Leanne Lang.
Oh, she won't be happy. Actually, I was just with her down south, right, just after she had done this, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. With Tony Harris?
Yeah.
And, oh, cool. I didn't know that you were there, too. That's great. Oh, yeah, your wives are friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know you're not friends with Tony Harris.
Hope you're listening, Tony.
He's a funny guy.
Oh, man, he's awesome.
Isn't he the funniest guy?
Yeah, he's great.
So funny.
Yeah.
One time he got, I know, let's get off track. One time,
Bishop's guy.
Bishop's, yeah, he was a Bishop's all-Canadian quarterback. Yeah. I believe he played in the OHL too as a goalie for Kingston.
Yeah, that's it.
And so this one time there used to be a thing where university football players would go play in Europe after. It wasn't NFL Europe. It was just in Europe. They would head over there and they retired and they'd be gone for the second half of the semester. So we had a football banquet that year, and to to honor the people who had were done playing football, Tony Harris gets up and he gives this speech, and he's like, "Our boys have gone off to Germany," or whatever, And he gave this speech like they'd all gone off to war, and everyone is just dying, and he never cracks, and he's like, "We're proud of them. Some of them won't come back, and we don't care." And it was just so well done. I'm like, that guy is so funny, man. He's next level funny, and an amazing artist, right? Like,
Yeah,
how
no
do you
kidding.
paint like
What sports guy is
Yeah.
talented like that?
Yeah, with hands
right?
like that.
Yeah.
Like to break his fingers and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like he can paint a picture better than I can take a picture.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is crazy.
Yeah, he did. He's done a few pictures for us, but the team commissioned him to do one for my 1,000th game, and it's
1,000 games.
It's incredible picture. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Of all the things in any professional sports, to play 1,000 games in the NHL must be one of the greatest accomplishments. Like, could you, when you started playing in the NHL and you saw everything going on around you and the kind of game it is, did you imagine playing 1,000 games in the NHL?
No, definitely not. I met my wife, Erin, early on in Ottawa, and she always remembers me telling her that I hope to play 10 years. Like that was a good long career.
Yeah.
Not even having expectations of getting to those levels. So to do that, especially for a guy that gets 3 to 4 goals a year,
but they're awesome goals.
a games played stat is pretty big. Extremely, honored and humbled. It was a big achievement to play 1,000 games for sure.
Yeah, I know guys, football players have always said the same thing, 10 years. And to me, like, I played 5 and I'm still sore, man.
Yeah.
Like, my head still rings and I don't know how guys do it. I guess, do you think you learned the sort of I don't know if the right word is pace yourself for 10. You know what I mean? Like, because you can't go out crazy all the time. Because I'm sure you see guys who come in, they just, like football, you got these guys who come out and they're bullets, they're bulls, they go hard, and then they're done in, 18 months, their career's over. And I was similar to that. I was all out. I was always taught to be the hammer, not the nail, just go hard. Yep. And I would see guys around me sort of doing what they needed to be a good player. And then and I look back and having seen that, my career ended 5 because of injuries, and then they played 14. You know what I mean? Because they had learned to play that way. Is that something that you made a conscious decision to?
I don't know if it was a decision of, because you don't go on the ice thinking, all right, I gotta, take it easy here. Mm-hmm. But there's no doubt that, everyone always said, and I took pride in it, that I played my best hockey in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I certainly, brought it up a notch and was more physical, more intense hockey. But, in hockey, having an 82-game schedule, lots of back-to-back nights, I always said that, if I played that way all the time, like I did in the playoffs, right, I wouldn't be able to get through mm-hmm. it. But I had one long, playoff run right to the finals, mm-hmm. a few, conference finals, but every round of, you're feeling it for a while. So, to try and have those expectations to do that for 82 games and then bring it up another notch, I don't know if that would have been possible. Mm-hmm. I think my biggest thing that I took pride in was I played injured. I played through a lot of stupid injuries that you're trying to explain to people, and it sounds like sometimes played in the 50s when you just you weren't allowed to say no,
right.
And you do different things to just make sure you get on the ice, and I took pride in doing that.
Yeah.
And
what's the biggest injury you played with?
I had awful trouble with my feet, mm-hmm. Getting kind of like calluses. I don't even know what the hell to call them, but
calluses paints the picture.
but really big ones on my feet, and made it.
Did you have bunions?
Yeah.
Do you have bunions?
Yeah, made it tough to put my skates on.
Yeah. You know what bunions are, eh? When you're like your big toe and then your kind of goes out at the bottom. You know what I mean? Like
okay. Yeah. So I get them on the side.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
The side and the heel.
Yep.
And if they became inflamed, it was terrible. It was not fun putting my skates on, and that's not good when you're playing hockey, that you don't want to put your skates on. But lots of games. Later on when they had shootout, the game would end, and I couldn't wait to untie my skates. So, if they ever said, you're up in a shootout, I'd be like, sorry, my skates are off. I can't go. Can't do this.
I never thought this would happen.
Everybody's gone?
Everybody's gone twice. Yeah. I'll put my skates back. Can I do it in barefoot? It's the same chance of scoring.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's funny. I'll take a slap shot from here. That's good. Yeah. So foot problems. That's good. What about head injuries?
Later on, I had a couple concussions, mm-hmm. but nothing that kept me out for extended period of time, and no post concussion stuff. No, just no symptoms. Yeah, so
that's good.
That I know of yet anyway, so hopefully they stay away, but so far so good.
Yeah. What's that? There's a picture of the Sunsplex. Is it of you checking Darcy Tucker?
Yeah.
And he's upside down?
Yeah.
I remember taking my kids there, and every day we'd stop and look at that. It's the most amazing picture,
It is
right?
a great picture.
What's the story behind that picture?
I think it might have been a playoff game, and he actually he was coming to hit me, and I don't even remember exactly, because I was almost kind of passing by, and I was able to get a piece of him. Yeah. And I don't know if he was jumping or off balance, whatever, but somehow he ended up upside down. It wasn't a hip check, but somehow he ended up upside down, and and somehow somebody took a picture at the perfect moment.
It's the perfect
So,
picture. It's the
yeah.
perfect. It's a picture every person wants, right? You know, maybe scoring an overtime goal or something.
Yeah.
But that picture is that's what a football player wants, right?
Yeah,
Like that
yeah.
picture of the guy. I think his face is all kind of going into the ice too, isn't it? Yeah.
He's right close to it anyways. Yeah.
And like, there's never been a guy that Ottawa fans have hated more, right, than Darcy Tucker.
He might be at the top. Yeah.
Those were crazy years when
It was awesome.
Yeah, they were awesome is the right word, right?
Yeah, it was so much fun. You know, like we had, no success really in the playoffs against them.
So frustrating.
So frustrating. And had some great teams, some great chances to, really have a great cup run, I think. And, they were our nemesis, and they had our number. But, once your career's over and you look back, that was fun hockey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a fan too, like that's for me. Those are the years when my kids were starting to play the most and I paid the most attention. But yeah, it seemed like every year, like, oh no, like, oh, Toronto hasn't had a great year, and maybe this is our year.
Yeah.
And then now, every year, like you said though, everyone changes their game in the playoffs,
Yeah,
right?
that's
and they changed their game too, right?
Yeah, and they did have always had a lot of veteran guys that had been through a lot, been in the league a long time, that knew how to handle all that, and paid off for them.
Yeah, as they say, the gritty player, right? Like the Darcy Tucker, for sure. What when you first got to the league, who were the people that you sort of looked to kind of like emulate?
I don't know if there was a player that I, being a defenseman.
Were there any guys like that kind of helped you out? You're the young guy.
Yeah, there was lots of guys here in Ottawa. It was a great group, and
I just burped right into the microphone. That's from the tartan pants.
Tartan pants will do
Burp.
it.
It's delicious too. Haven't found one I don't like yet.
Well, there you go,
Yeah.
2 for 2. And it was very similar to like you said, when I was 15 playing with 20-year-olds. When I came to the NHL, there was a lot of guys that were 30 years old.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, wow, these guys are really old.
Those old 30-year-olds.
But we had a really great group of guys. Lance Pitlick was here, Jason York, Sean Van Allen. I played with Igor Kravchuk. Really, the list goes on and on. Randy Cunneyworth, first captain when I came in here.
Wow, that was a long time ago, man.
Yeah. And got to play with Wade Redden, he was a year ahead of me, and so when I was 14, growing up, he was 15 playing for Lloydminster in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. So he'd come to town, and I'd go to watch Wade Redden, and then the next year I'm doing the same thing he's doing, and then he goes to Brandon, and I end up in Prince Albert, and I'm playing against them, and then we played World Juniors together, and then he gets traded to Ottawa. Actually, at the WHL All-Star game when we're together, he gets traded to Ottawa. So we have this relationship. We're all kind of buds, have the same history growing up, and got in there. I was actually my roommate. We lived together my first year, and helped me out. He'd been through a year of the NHL already, show me the ropes, and again, the circumstance, guys welcomed me in with open arms and just made it comfortable right from day one.
So World Juniors, that was you guys won the gold medal, right?
Yeah, I played 2 years, 95 and 96.
Where was that? Where was the
first year was Boston.
Okay.
Second year was Geneva, Switzerland.
Okay.
First year, I was the only two of us were undrafted, so kind of the extra seventh defenseman that.
So you went to the World Juniors,
had the pom poms, and didn't play very much.
And you were undrafted. So
yeah.
Okay, and you were fifth.
I was 17 then.
17.
So that was my first year of the Western Hockey League, and then I was drafted that summer.
Okay.
So I was there in Boston where we won the gold medal, and then the following year had a year of experience, and second year player, and played quite a bit, and that one was a little more impactful
Yeah.
to me to be a difference maker in that one to win the gold medal. But both were great experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the value of even just being there, right, and going through everything, and it helps. Like, it's funny because in the World Juniors, you talk about someone's experience, and that's the guy who sat in the bench the year before, right? It's not like someone who's been around 10 years, right? So, and you do realize the value of experience, right? Even if it's only 1 year of watching what happens.
Yeah, just being a part of it, seeing how everything happens. Knowing some of the guys that were, you watched the year before, and tendencies of how, and how to react in situations, what you can and can't do. And
it's funny because in the NHL, you always hear around the trade deadline, they bring in a guy who's won a Stanley Cup, right? And you're like, well, that guy can't even, contribute on the ice, but there's so much more, right, behind that. Like you say, it's a new game altogether. And just to know what time to go to bed, where to eat, all those little things that lead to success that can be replicated or duplicated another time. And it's so invaluable that you bring in a guy.
Yeah, 100%. Just even, some of those guys that have, gone through playoff series, in years past. I remember Sean McEachran coming in, and he was involved. I think he was with Pittsburgh when they were down. One of the early series, they were down 3-1 and came back and won the series, and I think went on to win the Stanley Cup that year. So just being able to tell the guys, this is possible here. Like, we got to stay positive because it's, you just got to win this game, and then don't worry about the other ones. Just come and win this game. And, it's easy for people just to say that. But when you have a guy that's lived it and breathed it, then, that's more impactful for sure.
Yeah, I had a football coach in university, Ian Breck, and he had a story for every situation we found ourselves in. And as young men, it always seemed to work. We'd go in at halftime down by 20, and he would come in and go, listen, I got to tell you, and he would tell you a story of a team that came back from a 30-point deficit, and, then you believed and you realized it could happen. And the value of what you think in your head is just so important, right? Like, all these guys they're all great athletes, and they're great hockey players, and they've been through it all. And then, like, what do you think, to play as long as you did, there has to be something going on in your head that's leading, telling you the right things, right? Like, is there a conscious, like, sort of, when Leanne Lang was here, she talked about visualization and how, and I also said, that's when I started at night going over my plays in my head every single night. That's the way it started unfolding, and success started happening more readily for me. Is that something that was part of your game?
I would say a little bit. I think a part of it as well was being able to leave the game at the rink. Playing in the NHL in Canada. If you listen to the radio every day or read the newspapers every day, sometimes you'd really be questioning yourself, like, I guess I'm not that good. I don't know.
All of
the guy on the radio said I was terrible. Anyways, and there's, trade rumors and just everything that, right from, early on, I come and, play the game and, try be focused, do the right things to prepare physically, and just, block everything out when you're at the rink, and then when you leave the rink, just leave hockey there and live your life and have fun, and not to stress out about, maybe I should have done this on this play or that on that play, and then not sleeping at night because you're screwed up something, or you should have done something different. And I think having a family at a young age made a huge difference, or was a huge part of that as well. That we come home and then it was we'd deal with the kids and family life, and they didn't even know. I'm sure at a young age they didn't even know I played hockey, let alone
that's right.
Whether I had a good game or a bad game. They were just happy that Dad was home, and that really even made it easier to do that.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, I mean, that is the most important job, right? Like, just to be a good father and be there, right?
Yeah.
And like you're what, 40? How old are you?
I'll be 40 in the spring.
You'll be 40?
40 in March. Yeah.
You're not even 40.
No.
and you're retired,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, it's amazing, right? Like the game of hockey has been so good to you, you know? Like
it really has been.
That's
It was my son had you take your kid to the grade 9s to take your kid to work day, and so he had a good laugh with his
Take him to
teacher. He's like, "What are we gonna do? Sleep in till 2:45?"
and then go to a brewery, do some samplings. That's good. Sleep into 2:45. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I almost couldn't stop laughing when you're like, the guy in the radio told me I'm not very good, right? Like, it's such a reality though. Like, and guys get caught up in that, man. Like, oh, the newspaper says I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, I won't say any names, but one guy, and I remember the guy. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember. Anyways, I won't get into that part of professional sports, but yeah, to be able to like be a father and be around all the time now, I can't believe you're only 40 or not 40 yet. You see, not 40 yet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, next year. Wow.
So I look a lot older, huh?
You know what's funny about the way you look is around town for years people have thought I was Chris Phillips.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all over the place. Like, that's Chris Phillips, and I'm like, but he looks bigger. No, I didn't get that part. But I would say, every couple of weeks I hear kids going, I think that's Chris Phillips. And then they see the car I get into and go, that can't be Chris Phillips. No. So, okay, so we've entered the NHL. You've gone and back to junior for a year. You've come back to the Sens. And you start day one. You're you're on the team the second time you come back, right?
Yeah.
The second time you come back. So everything's. And when you left the first time, was that your decision or an agent's decision?
Yeah,
or?
more of the agents saying, we should take off and put some pressure on them, and looked at playing in the AHL.
Yeah.
If that was an option, and none of it worked out, and wish it never happened, that part, but would have just sucked it up and went back and had a great year in junior. But that's how year one started out. And I just before you get ahead, that year I was traded to Lethbridge. Mm-hmm. So I played a year and a half. So I went back to junior, started with Prince Albert, and then got traded to Lethbridge at the deadline. Mm-hmm. And ended up coming play here in Hull in the Memorial Cup.
Oh, nice.
In 97.
Yeah.
And the year before
who won? Did you win them?
We lost in the final.
To Hull?
To Hull,
Oh, I remember that. And they were the team the host team, right? So they just got the buy-in.
Yeah, they had a pretty good team anyways. I think they might have won the league, but they were the host team and won it all.
Yeah, I remember that. That's I mean, it's always a big deal when the local team wins, for sure. I remember they used the 67s one in Hull. So we're going to enter the third beer here. I don't know if you're at your second beer. Oh,
I got some in there, but my glass is empty.
Glass is empty. Good. So our third one here is, this is the one I was wondering about. Double chocolate milk stout.
Midnight Kiss My Cow.
That's what drew me to it, was the picture of the cow on it. Yeah. And what's the story here? It's got a cow. Oh, wow. Is it ever dark?
That's a...
This is like
that's where you get the milk from, the cow.
No, milk comes straight from the cow.
Yeah.
You live on a farm? Is that
No. It was an oil town.
No, I mean here.
Oh, here. No.
But
we have a farm in the Manotick.
Okay.
But no house there, just land and an outdoor rink.
Is that right? So do you drive?
Not
you don't take care of the rink.
I haven't. This is I'm hopefully this year I get out there a little bit more and try and get it in better condition.
Okay.
I have a buddy that lives close that takes care of it and tries to get it ready. The last couple of years has not been great weather for outdoor rinks, but for all the hours that go into an outdoor rink, it seems like 1 hour on it makes it all worth it.
It's so worth it.
So much fun.
Yeah, we've had a rink. I had a rink every year. I lived here till last year, but I built a rink for 12 years for my kids, and it was, like you say, you just get out there and you're skating on for here it's a front lawn or a back lawn. You know what I mean? It's just such a great feeling. The snow's falling, and wow, it's amazing feeling. And you're right, it's a lot of work, but I don't remember the work.
Yeah.
I can remember standing out at night and just looking back and with pride and sprinkling, putting water on it. And those are the memories I have. I don't have the like trying to build the boards when it's cold and all that memories. It's and obviously on the rink time. It's a great thing. And you always had one, right? Growing up?
Yeah, growing up, early on, anyways. We had like a 12 by 12 rink on our deck on the patio, whatever it was there, and I don't know how he did it, but the base of it was newspaper, so you could actually I couldn't read at the time, but you could see the newspaper underneath the ice, so that was a sign of how good the ice was. But
wow, I have no idea why you would have newspaper down.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it worked.
Yeah, for sure, it worked. So, like memorable things that stood out in your career. I know we're on our third beer here, so like obviously 07, right? Stanley Cup. That was
07 Stanley Cup run was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I couldn't imagine the feeling, the city, if we were to win the cup that year. But looking back and how hard it was just to get there and what you go through, was a highlight. Even the city up to that point, the Red Mile that year, or the Sens Mile, sorry, people waiting at the airport. Yeah. It was just a lot of fun. Something that was just, it would have been cool to be able to have the time to sit back and watch it more and appreciate it. But being involved in it was an incredible feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was went to the NFL Combine, and I to be perfectly honest, I don't remember who won the Super Bowl that year, but I know who lost.
Yeah,
it was the San Diego Chargers, and the reason I remember that is because I remember sitting at the San Diego Chargers table. You'd walk around, you get interviewed by them, and everybody the whole time I was there would walk by this table and congratulate every guy at the table, like just for making it to the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh wow, it's such an accomplishment just to be in that big game and to be in the last game of the season. You know what I mean? Winning, it's awesome for sure. You'll have a ring, whatever, the whole bit. But the memory of having a team who made it that whole way is a fantastic, amazing accomplishment, right? And
yeah, it really was. And it's hard to accept that at the time, but looking back, it really was and a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Personally, I scored overtime goal in 03 conference finals, game 6 overtime to force a game 7, and that was probably a personal highlight of my career to be able to do that. I mean, when you grow up, when you talk about visualizing, you dream of scoring, the game 7 overtime, and how am I going to celebrate? Am I going to jump on the glass? Am I going to, what would I do? And you think about all that, and that's what would give me goosebumps thinking about that. So to score that goal to move on.
So we're in overtime, and it was game 7. You said
game 6.
Game 6.
That was game 6 in New Jersey.
You're up by a game.
We were down 4 games to 2.
4 games to 2. Okay.
Or sorry, 3 games to 2.
Yeah.
And that was game 6, and we won in overtime to force a game 7 back home.
Yeah, I remember that. You're coming down the left wing. Is that true?
It was down the right-hand side. So the camera was from I'd be on the left, but
you were on the left.
I was coming down the right,
following
up the play, and Vaclav Varada was standing in front of the net, and I just remember coming in, and he was like swiping at the puck, and how he didn't hit it or why it was laying there. I'm still not sure, but I just kept going, and the puck was sitting there, and swiped it past Marty Brodeur, and on to game 7. Yeah,
nice. That's amazing. I remember that. I think I was watching that at a fire station, and the feeling, the whole town, right? You feel the whole. It was amazing. Going to a playoff game in Ottawa. I think it might be the greatest sort of place I've been. You know what I mean? The feeling in the air is so electric and unbelievable. It's just such a, it's packed full of people, and it's just an amazing, it's just an indoor environment, like I've been to football games where there's been 150,000 people all excited, but just the fact that they're in one sort of enclosed capsule, it's just such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. and playoff weather. You know, it's
Yeah.
getting nice out. People are outside, and everybody's, just brings everybody together.
Yeah.
There is no enemies. Everybody's just friends out there and having a good time, and it just comes into the rink, and we can feel that excitement as players for sure.
So really, yeah, of course you do. You feel it. It's in the air. It's there. It's something it's almost palpable. You can almost touch it. It fuels you, right? Like it's and like you say, it's a different sort of animal. You have a different gear for the playoffs.
100%.
Wow, that's great. What are you part of the organization at all now? Do you do anything with the Sens?
Yeah, I'm work on the community business development, and excited to be still a part of it. It gives me a badge that I can get into the rink and still go down to the dressing room and see the guys and have a coffee once in a while. Still a few guys there that I played with, and just to be a part of the organization still, and to be involved with some community stuff, and obviously a huge part of my life playing for that team. So to still be involved and a part of it, and people still recognize me as being a part of it, feels good as well.
Yeah, for sure. You're face of the Sens. I imagine as long as you're alive, right? Or even after that, Frank Finnegan's still around, or whatever. He is, right? I mean, he's not around. The bar.
He
may be
the
gone.
the banners.
The
still,
banners, it's still there for sure. And the big rig, what's going on with that?
It's going well. The restaurants, are both going well. So if we have any customers listening, thank you for your.
We go there for breakfast all the time, man.
Oh, yeah, just down the street.
Yeah, 5 minutes from here. I love it.
And the beer side's going well. We have distribution in most of Ontario with at least one brand, and it's been a fun project to be a part of.
So you can get it in the LCBO,
beer store, grocery store.
Oh, beer store too. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can get it at Big Rig. Like they sell them fridge there.
On Iris Street.
Oh, the Irish Street.
Unfortunately, we can't legally have one at
there's
Gloucester, but
LCBO in the same parking lot. That's where I bought these delicious.
Iris Street and the brewery both have a retail store.
How many different? Like you got 3 different kinds here.
Yeah, we got 3 here. We have a Salute. 1179. That happens to be how many games I played.
No, that's cool.
No coincidence there.
1179.
It's a 4% Pilsner. We have a Canadian Amber. We have the Hefeweizen, Alpha Bomb. Those are sort of the main ones, and then we have some seasonals that we'll throw out. The Pumpkin Porter that we can.
That's incredible. There's so many different kinds.
Pretty good lineup, yeah.
Yeah, wow. That must be a huge brewery. Where's the brewery in Canada?
Schneider Road, 103 Schneider Road.
Is that in Canada?
Yeah.
So
end of Carling Avenue towards March Road.
Okay, so out by
the Lone Star.
Yeah.
Across the street from there.
Okay, I think I know where that is. That's okay. That's close to like where you play hockey, right? I mean, similar. It's the other side of the Queensway, though, right? I'm just trying to picture where that would be. I'd like to go. I love breweries.
Yeah, basically, if you just stayed on Carling, it's at the end of Carling.
Okay. By the
turn on to Schneider.
March Road. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a high tech area.
Yeah.
Or used to be, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I find brewery so beautiful. I don't know if it's from my childhood watching Strange Brew, but just such the big. This is like that. Is it all the?
It is, and. The tasting room has 2 big windows.
Yeah.
One of them looks right onto the canning line.
Okay.
Which is cool to see how that happens.
Yeah.
And then the other one is right at our brew house where they're making it right there. And then we have 24 fermenters in behind that. So it's a beautiful picture of stainless steel.
Well, that's the beautiful part. I think that I love. And then the beer itself.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you doing this. Been an hour and 15 minutes. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Finish our beers.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is great. Welcome back. Amazing podcast with Chris Phillips. Thanks a lot for being here. And wow, a guy who's had an amazing impact on this community. Just in hockey and charity, and done so much. overcome so much at a young, early age, to be, forced into that sort of a parental role at a young age when his parents aren't feeling well, aren't healthy, and just to succeed and to do so much and to be consistent and to stay so long in one place. And I mean, 1,000 games in the NHL is an incredible accomplishment. And it comes from, thinking about the right things and doing the right things on a daily basis and pointing yourself in that direction and just keep going and to be resilient and to head in that positive direction. And now, retired at 38, 39, 40 years old, and to spend the time with his kids, it's a dream come true. And he's got his own kids in hockey, which says a lot for the sport, says a lot for team sports and what it does for our kids, and how positive an influence it has on growing a person who can contribute in society and in our community. And yeah, thanks to Chris, and the beer was fantastic. The Big Rig beer is delicious. My favorite. Well, you know what? I had some gold lagered ale. I had some tartan pants Scotch ale. And perhaps they've had a little too much, and I'll have a nap after this. But finishing off with the Big Rig Cow Double Chocolate Milk Stout, a delicious dessert beer. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Mark Hatfield's Friday Night. This Friday, December 8th, and next December 22nd, so make a plan to be there. Look forward to seeing you. Festive Christmas, whatever you're celebrating. We'll have a good time. Until then, stay cool.